The Smiling Human podcast is made possible by listeners like you. If you would like to experience more of these shows into the future, then please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/thesmilinghuman. Hello, and welcome to The Smiling Human, where collectively we evolve through inquiry. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Smiling Human podcast and another installment of Oak's Hour. My name is Oak, and I'm your host. On today's episode, I will be exploring some through lines of inquiry that arose through the previous 3 episodes, those being with Doll Bryant, Kiki Grace, and Carrie Frame, respectively. The questions I will be addressing today are as follows. 1. How does the understanding that we are already good enough shape our approach to inner stillness and self-discovery? 2. How does self-discovery through curiosity and self-compassion shape our personal narratives? And 3. How does the shift in our narratives produced through the adoption of such qualities improve our relationships and foster greater harmony? You might be surprised to note that there are only 3 questions in today's monologue, whereas typically I explore 5 to 6. Well, as it turns out, these 3 questions had a lot of thoughts arise when I was in my contemplations, and to explore the full 6 that I had considered would have taken a few episodes. But before I get into it, please do like and rate this episode on whatever platform you're listening on, and subscribe if you aren't already. You might also share it with a friend if you find it interesting. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much. All right, with that, let's dive in. Question number 1. How does self-discovery through curiosity and self-compassion shape our personal narratives? To answer this question, we must first get clear on what is meant by good, what constitutes enough, and how the lack of such a sentiment as good enough shows up in the mind, in the body, and in the emotions. For those listeners who have been following along since the beginning, or to those of you who have read my book, the following will be an easeful reminder. For those listening for the first time, welcome. The good that would inform good enough is one of the 3 eminent transcendental qualities of the divine, the other 2 being the true and the beautiful. For any good to exist, or for any thing, being, or action to be considered good, it must share in its quality some similitude with this transcendental good. In short, all that could be considered good is, in at least some degree, a reflection of the ultimate good. It is from the concept of transcendental or transcendent good that the field of ethics is born. How this connects to good enough will be made clear momentarily. Ethics is concerned with morality, the goodness or badness, the rightness or wrongness of action. Within this field, we are also concerned with evaluating the worthiness of actions. We have now taken one step further in clarifying good enough by introducing the notions of value via evaluation and worth via worthiness. Let us stay within the realm of ethics for the time being, and in doing so, let us expand on worthiness. This notion is seen primarily when assessing the blame or praiseworthiness of a given actor or agent based on their actions taken. If it can be said that one has committed a bad act, something that is morally wrong, then it can also be said that the one to have done so is blameworthy for their actions. There's a weight, an assessment of the act and what it means for and about the given actor or agent. In contrast, if an act is good, then by the same measure it and the actor are evaluated to be praiseworthy. Presumably, it's because it exhibits some aspect of that transcendental good. To summarize, then, for an act or actor to be good, they are evaluated or recognized as such as a result of the similitude to the transcendent good. This is taken to be valuable and thus worthy of praise. With this established, let us now turn to the concept of enough. An exploration of some synonyms will serve us by broadening our understanding of what is meant. Words like sufficient, satisfactory, acceptable, or adequate. By these words, we're left with a clearer notion of measure. Now, it ought to be noted that measure is a very close cousin to the notion of evaluation, which we have already previously encountered. This sense of measure, then, requires another piece before we can consider it complete for our purposes, and the piece missing is that of standard. Let's elaborate with a simple example. Imagine I have a ladder. This ladder is 6 feet tall. Is the ladder tall enough? Saying that the ladder is 6 feet tall is a simple statement of its qualities. However, if we are genuinely curious to know if it is tall enough, then we will require a standard, external to the ladder, against which we can compare. Let's say then that I have to change a light bulb on the exterior of my home, and that the light bulb is 10 feet above the ground. Being that I am above 6 feet in height, a 6-foot ladder would be tall enough for this given purpose. It's suitable or sufficient to the relevant standard set by the need. With this clarified, let's return to the question at hand. How does the understanding that we are already good enough shape our approach to inner stillness and self-discovery? We will take two roads through this inquiry. On the first, we will accept the notion of being good enough already and explore therefrom. In the second, we will reject it and examine the consequent differences. In accepting that we are already good enough, what are we really taking to be true? It could be that we're saying that there is a measure for good that needs to be met and that we have met it, or that there is no measure and that our nature as beings is sufficient for any purpose of inner discovery that we might desire to pursue. What strikes me most when assuming that there is a measure that we've met are these questions. 1. What standard are we aiming to attain and measure ourselves against? And 2. If the standard is met, what does its attainment grant us? The most likely answers to these questions appear to me to be something like whatever it takes to be loved, accepted, wanted, safe, praised, and celebrated, and then being granted these experiences. Each of these qualities are a quality of our relationship to our environment, to our kin, and to society more broadly. So then, if it is the case that these are delivered to us from without, then the standard is being set by others within our environment, presumably the ones who would also deliver unto us these valuable experiences. It's clear to me that this could only be true for part of the time, as many of these aforementioned aims can be met from within. Assuredly, not all aspects of our yearnings are self-satisfiable, as we are innately social creatures, but the fact that some of them are able to be met by self means that we have the ability to adjust the standard by which we judge ourselves as lovable, worthy, wanted, and good. Perhaps even we may adjust this to the point of unconditionality. What might happen if we dissolve the standards we've made for ourselves to be lovable, accepted, and good? Well, any of those pieces of us that previously fell short of the historical standards would then exist well within the parameters of acceptability and lovability. More of our authentic humanness would cross the bridge that spans the gap from exiled, denied, and rejected to loved and lovable wholeness. This generates ease, openness, and wellness, as the rejections, previously held, would have signaled to our system that something is wrong. And this does not serve the goal of growth when perpetuated by contrived notions of what constitutes good enough. This kind of rejection actually precludes the revelation of a deeper primal knowing from occurring, as such open sensing is only possible from a state of receptive ease. That is, receptive to who and what we are as we are. Therefore, in accepting our goodness as presuppositional, that is to say, assuming it unconditionally, we support the kinds of states that allow for genuine self discovery and revelation to take place. When all parts are allowed and welcome, only then can their wisdom inform us with their innate vitality. This then leads us smoothly to our next inquiry. How does self-discovery through curiosity and self-compassion shape our personal narratives? Let's attend to the defining of the following terms in order to answer this question: discovery, curiosity, and compassion. Discovery. We will take it in its verb form, to discover, which is both the act of seeking and finding something previously unknown. I would put forward the idea that within the realm of inner work, all discovery is valuable. Next, curiosity. We will take this to be the state of being, a frame of mind centered on inquiry and a desire to know or to experience. Furthermore, curiosity rests on the foundation of humility. That is to say, it rests on a recognition of some meaningful ignorance whose alleviation is desirable. Lastly, compassion. This shall be understood as the loving acceptance of self or other driven by a desire to alleviate suffering. Now, with these definitions in mind, our question transforms and becomes: how do our stories change when our process of self-knowledge is fueled by humble curiosity and the loving desire to alleviate suffering? The introduction of humility, curiosity, and compassion into the self-discovery process will undoubtedly inspire a change in personal narratives, at the very least when contrasted with a narrative generation process devoid of such traits. And it's the quality of this change that we're most interested in. It could be said that the consequent narratives will be changed because the initial conditions of their inception are different. Pretty simple. So then, a humble approach, ripe with curiosity and compassion, acknowledges whatever suffering is present in the individual and presumes that suffering to be worthy of alleviation. Furthermore, it approaches coming to know this suffering and its sources without presumption. And such an approach is far more likely to uncover the underlying causes of suffering as they are, free from as much interpretive biases as can be said to be possible. To put it simply, then, looking lovingly and humbly into the nature of our being and our suffering is like bringing clear sight and bright light to our inner world. That which is can be seen clearly, and as a result of this clear seeing, we can be empowered into action based on a more truthful assessment of what is happening. This alone is bound to produce a more harmonious outcome than its opposite. It's this type of self-discovery and narrativizing, also known as story-making, that is empowered by the quality of spaciousness and deep listening. Because curiosity does not presume to know, and thus comes with the space and desire to receive insight. This brings us nicely to our third and final inquiry of the episode. How might these qualities and the narratives they generate improve our relationships and foster greater harmony? At this point, it must be said that the distinction between worldview and self-view is a false one. The entirety of our conceptual framework is a continuous whole, and it comprises self-conception, meaning, worldview, expectations, and all of our interpretive biases. It is not possible to extricate one's sense and understanding of self from one's sense and understanding of the world. This point is essential to acknowledge because it underpins the means by which the quality of our relationship to self, or our beingness, influences our relationship to others and the world. Struggle, strife, suffering, and ignorance are human universals, and thus can be considered to be personal and transpersonal phenomenon. As such, as one begins to cultivate and nurture a compassionate curiosity towards these states in self, so too does their capacity to relate to them in others improve. That is to say, the greater compassion we have for our own shortcomings, ignorances, and failures, the easier and more natural it is to receive others in their foibled wholeness with grace. These aspects of self that, when rejected, constrain the flow of awareness and life through the body, likewise constrain the reciprocal exchange that characterizes relationship. When rejecting parts of our own humanity, there can be no ease within. When rejecting pieces of another, there can be no ease between. This lack of ease is the antithesis of harmony. We can call it dissonance, tension, or unease, and yet still know it as resentment, shame, blame, condemnation, despair, or malice. Rejection is denial, and to deny the truth of what is happening within you or someone else is to champion a thought over reality. What exactly do I mean by this? Championing a thought over reality. I mean that in rejecting or denying the truth that you or another are experiencing some quality of their being, you are prioritizing thoughts such as, it shouldn't be this way, I don't want this, or this is ridiculous, over the lived experience and factual instantiation of the lived experience that you or this other is having. Please do note that the narrative that follows from specific qualities of experience can be rejected while still accepting the fact that the experience exists. Denial generates dissonance, and nature strives for harmony. Thus, in opening to an authentic, accepting view of what is for you and for others, you align yourself with the veritable way of nature, and thus with the pathway most inclined to support life. By avoiding the subterfuge generated by denial or condemnation, we are left with the real, or the really real, the source from which and on which all truthful discovery rests and flows. Curiosity magnetizes consciousness to the real, as that which is true is granted the requisite spaciousness to be known only when presumption is dropped. There's a meaningful point of confluence that calls to be acknowledged at this point, and this is the mutuality of the real and the authentic. When we say authentic, we might also mean genuine, real, true, or accurate, all of which denote validity and truthfulness. I would posit that that which is truthful and valid is primary in value, certainly as it relates to our journey of self-knowledge and self-compassion, as well as in shaping the quality of our relationships to the world. The subtlety and nuance that, when known, would make a clear distinction between truth and falsehood can make itself known only through the spaciousness of inner quiet. This quiet is the space within which all else is seen, experienced, and known. It is distinct from all the contents of consciousness as it's the backdrop to them, the arena of experience. How does one even begin to find this quiet or parse it apart from the variegated tapestry of sensorial happenings that pass through the mind? A deep and curious listening, and a desire to know that which is beyond or between one's thoughts and experiences will go a long way in easing access to this inner quiet. Trusting that it's there and that it is safe to see, to feel, and to hear whatever might be alive inside is also a must. Fear is often the most common culprit for our acts of denial and condemnation. However, fear, just as that which is feared, is an experience within the greater realm of conscious being. It is no more primary than a thought or an idea, although it can be a hell of a lot louder. Awareness is primary, and the following invitation is to you, dear listener. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to treat all parts of you, all thoughts, as equal in their fundamental sense? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be the witness rather than the judge of all that moves through the vast sea you call yourself and mind? To conclude, then, we have explored how our presumptions of value can generate false standards by which we measure our worth. These standards we have seen to be dissolvable and can give way to a spacious witnessing and acceptance that can also be known as loving compassion. We saw too that suffering is a human universal, and when we acknowledge its root, ignorance in the form of false ideas or a lack of connection to truth, we empower ourselves into liberation. This connection to truth liberates us from suffering, as well as promotes greater harmony in our relationships as a direct result of its primacy within this conscious universe. Awareness, the vast sea of consciousness, the sense of great quiet, is and always will be more true and more real than any thought or any idea. And any idea that presumes to be primary will, if believed, generate tension, dissonance, and dis-ease. You are this consciousness, and you have the power in each moment to return to this well of awareness, to occupy the seat of the seer or the witness, and to return untarnished by the ignorance and enthusiastic machinations of the mind. To close this episode, I wanted to try something new, which is a brief meditation. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery, please consider pausing before engaging in this meditation and come back when you can fully be present. All right, friends, I'll invite you now to take a nice, deep, full breath into the belly, filling the body, filling the chest, landing where you are, exhaling slowly and softly. Allowing your inhales to expand the belly, expand the rib cage, and the exhales to relax the muscles around the spine, relaxing the back, landing in your seat. Continue this slow breath in all the way, out all the way, with no breaks at the top or the bottom. If you haven't yet already closed your eyes, I would invite you to do so. And in doing so, I would invite you to follow your breath to your center. Just notice the following of the breath. Let it be the guide. Where is my center? And when you make contact with this center, you're going to breathe in fully to that center, like a welcoming invitation and a returning home. Exhaling softly, relaxing. And keeping your focus on that center, I invite you to imagine the very heart of it is a light of any color that comes to mind naturally. When this light becomes clear, I invite you to imagine that your inhales grows the size of the light, and the exhales make it a little bit brighter. Inhaling, expanding that light ever so slightly. Exhaling, growing in luminosity. Repeat this with the natural flow of your breath. Allowing this natural expansion to fill the rib cage, fill the abdomen, allowing the luminosity like water to flow and pour down the limbs, reaching and nourishing every cell. This light is the light of you, the light of your being. Imagine now, if it feels good, that light comes with its own warmth, its own sense of ease, its own sense of contentment. Feeling your whole body filling with a softness. Everything is okay. There's nothing to think about, nothing to do, but to be here in your own center. As contact with your center remains pure and clear, I would invite you now to seed that center with a drop of gratitude, a drop of joy. How beautiful it is to be you. What a miracle it is to be you right now. And just like the luminosity grew and expanded, allow your inhale to grow that sense of gratitude just a little bit. And the exhale to grow it in strength, maybe bringing a soft smile to the face. Giving thanks for this sensation of being alive. Giving thanks for your conscious awareness, for the blessed gift of experience. And feel, if you will, the same gratitude expanding out to fill the whole cavity of the chest, to touch all the organs down into the belly, such that you become a luminous candle of gratitude, a beacon of thankfulness, radiating your conscious being in and out. If it feels right, you may bring a hand or hands to that center, wherever you find it on your body, and offer gratitude to yourself for choosing to listen today, for choosing to meditate, for choosing to tune into the present, to bring focus, bring awareness to your own being, your own beautiful, unique being. And as it feels natural, you can open your eyes and to return to your space as you are. Thank you for your receptivity. Thank you for your trust. And thank you for the light that is your heart. May all beings everywhere be happy and free from suffering. Thank you. And that concludes this episode of the Smiling Human podcast. Thank you so much for listening. But before you go, I have 2 invitations for you. The first invitation is to receive a free gift. I've created a free insight journal. This is a 30-day self-reflection and introspection journal that you can download at no cost in the description below. Go have a look and join the journey. The second invitation I have for you is, if it feels within your means and possible for you, then please head over to patreon.com/thesmilinghuman. Becoming a patron will give you access to perks like behind-the-scenes footage and access to live Q&As with me monthly. You also get voting privileges to help pick new guests or to help guide other episode content. Truly, the support of listeners like you, paid or unpaid, goes a long way. So if you could like, share, subscribe, and give a rating on the podcast app, all of that goes a long way. Thank you to each and every one of you who's been on this journey with me. See you again soon.